And welcome to Safety Dawg. The Secrets of Safety Dawg is where we go live. And this week we have ReadyChek as a guest on the show. Hey,
Yay!
there's Michelle. There's my buddy Johnny. And ReadyChek has a really important message that they would like to get out before January the 1st. And so we're happy to have Michelle on the show. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, John.
Morning.
Thanks for having us.
Hey,
Oh,
us, there's only one of you so far.
Yeah,
yeah.
give us time. Um, yeah, no, we're seeing a lot of panic right now amongst some of our current customers and some potential customers because they're starting to get the ministry's notifications about ELD mandates starting January 1st. And
Yay!
Mhm.
Sorry,
everyone's
I'm a
excited
big,
about that.
well, I am a big proponent and I am
Yep.
in favor, much to many people's chagrin, of the ELD process.
Yep.
All right, but
Yeah, it's great for safety, but
hmm
it's
hmm
catching a small portion of um, operators and commercial vehicle drivers in a bit of a situation where they're unclear of what they have to have or they don't have to have based on where they drive, where they start, where they end, and whether or not they have to have an ELD or whether they can have an alternative solution.
and
And
so
that's what we're seeing. So
and you're going to clear that confusion up, aren't you?
I'm going to clear that up. Uh, Very poor resolution. I'm going to clear that up. Um, so what we would like people to know is that if your business runs either in full or in part under the 160-kilometer radius from where your business is headquartered or where your trucks would start their day, then you are not required to have the ELD. You
Correct.
may run with either all of your fleet. Again, if all of your fleet stays within the 160, then they do not require an ELD. They can continue doing business as they are, or they can pick a solution where they can get off of paper and do things a bit more efficiently. But if you have, let's say, 1, 2, 5 trucks in your fleet that still need to make those long trips, then you do need to make sure that even if they do it one time, that they have an ELD, because there are no exceptions to the ELD anymore like you used to be able to do. If your truck only went once or twice or 5 times a year, you could do it on paper for those trips and you could stay off the ELD for the rest of the year. That is no longer the case. There are no exceptions. So if you have vehicles that fall under that, they will require an ELD, but that does not mean that the rest of your fleet requires the ELD. So there are alternatives to the expensive ELDs for vehicles in your fleet that will never go over 160. And we want you to be aware of that because we don't want small businesses who are already doing their best to maintain the costs of running their business. We don't want them feeling like they have to go get ELDs for all of their trucks.
Right. So let's just reiterate or clarify, if a truck goes beyond the 160-kilometer circle, or as the crow flies, and it doesn't matter how many times in a year that truck goes beyond the 160, it will need an ELD in that vehicle.
Yeah.
But if other trucks in your fleet never go past the 160-kilometer radius, they do not need an ELD.
As long as they stop and start at the same location each day.
Perfect.
Correct.
So if you start
Yeah.
and stop at the same location each day, do not go beyond the 160. The operator only has to make sure that a vehicle inspection has been conducted. They do not need, the driver does not need an ELD.
Correct.
The company still has to keep track of the hours, though,
hmm
just to
Yes.
be clear.
The operator is still responsible for the hours, and they will be checked during a facility audit if that were to occur.
Right.
Right.
And the reason you are here is because DriverChek has a really great option for those who want to get away from paper and their vehicle inspections and even tracking of the hours of service. They can go digital and get in with ReadyChek, and they can go digital, which is in my opinion, it's a
Easy.
time saver and a heck of a lot easier.
Well,
Yeah, I
over
mean,
here in our little town, we call that easy peasy.
lemon squeezy. Yes.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so our app makes it very simple to do inspections, but you're correct. We also have a module that is optional for anyone who is using our app. We can turn on the hours of service, and it will allow each user each day to record their start and end locations, as well as keep track of the hours that they are on duty, off duty, or on duty driving, so that operators have a big picture in the system, and it makes it a lot easier for them to provide that information during a facility audit, which can be very difficult if they have a bunch of different drivers all throughout the year. All of a sudden, they find out they have a facility audit, and now they have to go digging up paper and figuring out when people worked and check up their projects and see, okay, well, on this project, they worked this many hours, and on this project, they used to work like this. Unless they have their own project management system where they track everything and it's all combined, it can be very difficult for keeping track of the driver's hours. So our app gives them an easy way to do that. And since it's integrated with the app for doing their inspections, the drivers only have to go to one place.
Yeah, and it makes it easy. And that app also communicates, it communicates with the office. So if you do find a defect, for example, it's now properly and correctly documented and communicated to the correct people, so that defect will get, we hope, repaired.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. It gives them a notice without the driver having to make a separate call, because once the inspection is saved, two things happen. One, the server, as long as there is connection with, the server with data, the inspection can be done, and the server is immediately updated with the fact that there's a major or minor. So if there's a safety manager who's looking at our dashboard in the web online in the office, they can see it right away. And if they're not monitoring it right away, there's also an email that gets sent as soon as the inspection is saved. And the email details whether or not there's a major or minor or good result. And you can have a separate email that only gets an email if there's a major or minor. So you have a little bit of play there on who's going to get notified depending on the results of the inspection.
I just got a quick question. Can you print these notifications if it comes in via email? Obviously you can. Okay,
it's a PDF. So it's an attached PDF. So you could print it if you wanted to. Yeah.
Sorry, I just answered my own question, because yes, you can print it. Well, because what I'm thinking is, if there's a defect, I want that printed, and then I want to attach either the invoice or the work order showing that the defect has been corrected, and then it all goes into the maintenance file.
Correct. You can also, within ReadyChek, we also have just, right now it's just a text field, so you can put whatever you want into it. But right now we do have a text field so that when you go into ReadyChek to mark that inspection and that part as repaired, we do have a field where you can also list or write down there the work order that was associated with that fix. So if you can't find it in your paperwork and you see the inspection, you can look and see what work order you're looking for and go back and find it.
Some good cross-referencing. Wow, good.
Yeah.
Awesome. So today's message is, if you don't go beyond the 160 ever, I better add that in, then you do not need an ELD. You and your drivers need to continue to do a vehicle inspection on a daily basis and document that. And the company still has to keep track of the driver's hours in each of the duty statuses, right? But if your truck does go beyond the 160, even once per year, there is no exception. In the United States, there were some exceptions, and that's what we were running under before. But as of January the 1st, it's clear, no exceptions. If you go beyond the 160, you must have an ELD, or you go to the expense of renting a truck. And
right.
There's lots of people.
Rent a truck so that the other truck is the one responsible. And when you're renting, you can do the paper logs for that trip.
Right. And the problem is, though, there are many people like dust. What do you call those vacuuming people that do your ductwork?
The
Ductwork
duct
people.
cleaning.
Yeah.
There's lots of trucks that are equipped with special equipment that you just
Yes.
can't go out and rent a replacement.
No.
However, in an emergency, they might go beyond the 160, and now they're,
Yep.
as John would say, pooched. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
his small town.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another
We have that.
option that we're seeing, either because we know the company that is being subcontracted, or they're getting subcontractors, but some people are now going to subcontract the long jobs so that
Mm-hmm.
their fleet doesn't have to do it anymore. So
Yep.
if it's a business that already runs ELDs on all their vehicles, they might be seeing a bit more work these days
Mm-hmm.
because they might be subcontracted by others who don't want to make those
Sure.
trips.
Right. But in the example of a plumber, a duct cleaning service, there's, I don't know, hundreds of others out there that have special equipment in their vehicles. I mean, they may not want to subcontract it out to a competitor because
Mm-hmm.
now they might lose that business.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
For people whose truck is their business, that's going to be a lot more difficult. For people who need stone because they're landscapers and they need to go pick up their yearly supply of stone and decorative materials, they might be able to
Mm-hmm.
either rent a truck for that one trip or two trips a year, or they might be able to just have it delivered to them instead of going to go get it. So
Sure.
it's not the same as if your vehicle has all the equipment you need to do your job.
And just in case people are going, oh, I can rent a truck. Oh, well, I'll just keep renting a truck for 12 months of the year. That is not allowed.
Nope.
It
Nope.
is
That'll get you in trouble.
a 30-day rental or less that has
Mm-hmm.
not been renewed. So they're
Right.
going to be looking for that. They obviously the government knows that trick and has put legislation in that you cannot do that. So
Yep.
just to be clear for the people who are renting.
Yeah. Be careful on the renting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Michelle, what else? Is there anything else that we need to get out before January the 1st?
I mean, I'm not sure if there's anything that was the top of mind for me, is that I'm just the panic that's setting in with a lot of people who maybe haven't been paying that close of attention. Their inboxes are being flooded with this reminder email, which is great for all of those that need reminding. But it's a slightly terrifying reminder for those who haven't thought about it because they haven't been
Yeah.
falling under these rules before, but they're getting the emails now, even though they're not really in the category of those who need
Yeah.
the ELDs. So there's just a bit of panic going on from the smaller companies, and hopefully there's something that we can do for the exceptions for the small companies who have specialized vehicles that they can't afford to put ELDs in. But I think there is a way to mitigate many of those expenses as long as they understand the different rules and that they don't need their whole fleet. They only need the ones that travel, and to know that they need the ones that travel. I'm also concerned about those of our customers and those that would fall under our customers list, that they don't realize that one or two exception vehicle that they have been running with for years is now no longer an exception. So I want them to know that they also do need to know the rules and that they might need an ELD for a couple of their trucks.
Right.
So
Well, and one of the dilemmas that they could run up against is not only knowing they need it, but trying to find a provider that has the equipment to equip that vehicle. So, and the unfortunate aspect is in this late in the game, with January 1 being around the corner, a lot of suppliers are going to be hesitant to want to work with, an outfit that has only the need for one or two devices when they're backlogged already with other customers that are needing a couple hundred devices. So it puts you on the shorter end or the longer end of that list per se in order to get that. So there's going to be some work for these folks to find a supplier that can work with them and help them and provide them with the tools that they need.
A little bit of a selfish note here on my part, John. I was talking to one of the U.S. suppliers last week, and they said they've got plenty. They would love for me to give out their information. If that is the case, they can reach out to me. But let's just go over the rules one more time. If you go beyond the 160 kilometer radius as the crow fly as of January the 1st, you will need an ELD. However, if you have trucks in your fleet that do not ever go beyond the 160, those trucks are not required to have an ELD. So, and by the way, we should clarify too, any truck that's a commercial vehicle registered with a gross weight or a registered weight of more than 4,500 kilograms needs to have an ELD if you go beyond the 160.
160.
If you stay within, you do not need an ELD. Is that right?
Yes, and to clarify again, make sure that start and stop location is the same. Otherwise, they fall out of the exemption again. So they
Right.
need to start and stop at the same location, and they need to stay within the 160 radius. And also to make it clear, ReadyChek is not an ELD. So I've also had some requests from people who were saying, look, we need a digital solution. Can you guys be that solution? And we are not an ELD. We are a much more cost efficient solution for those who do not need an ELD. Part of why we can offer our services at a much reduced rate to ELDs is because we're not an ELD.
Right. You are a digital version of the vehicle inspection with an option to track the driver's hours of service. Is that
correct?
sum it up?
If we had and had to maintain everything that an ELD tracks and maintains, we probably wouldn't be able to do it at the cost that we're offering our solution. So we just want to make it clear. We're for all of those people stuck with wanting a solution but not wanting to pay for an ELD.
Right.
Perfect. Michelle of ReadyChek, if I haven't done it already, I will make sure your contact info is in the show notes below. John, did you have something to?
No, I just wanted to say thank you very much for to Michelle and ReadyChek for this very important message that needed to get out. I know there's been a fair bit of confusion here. So you know what? Now you've got some more information. Now you can't complain. And if you still don't know, you better ask some more questions.
Yeah, reach out to ReadyChek. They know their stuff and they can answer your questions. Chad and Michelle at ReadyChek will be happy to answer your questions, and I'll put their info in the show notes down below. Michelle, thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks, John.
No problem. Thank you.